O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The second debate, who won? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. There was high drama last night because Donald Trump was on the ropes. The vulgar tape and the wall-to-wall reporting of it had the Republican candidate in a very bad place. But Trump somehow, against all odds, won the debate. He won because Secretary Clinton could not knock him out. And after the first 30 minutes, Trump went on offense, regaining at least some momentum. Here's how it went down. The debate opened with no handshake. Then, Secretary Clinton fired the first round.
What we all saw and heard on Friday was Donald talking about women, what he thinks about women, what he does to women, and he has said that the video doesn't represent who he is. But I think it's clear to anyone who heard it that it represents exactly who he is. But it's not only women, and it's not only this video that raises questions about his fitness to be our president, because he has also targeted immigrants, African Americans, Latinos, people with disabilities, POWs, Muslims, and so many others.
Trump answered with a strategy he has used before.
Bill Clinton was abusive to women. Hillary Clinton attacked those same women and attacked them viciously. 4 of them are here tonight. One of the women, who is a wonderful woman, at 12 years old, was raped at 12. Her client, she represented, got him off.
The story here is that in 1975, an Arkansas judge appointed Hillary Clinton to represent accused child rapist Thomas Taylor. Counselor Clinton was successful in raising doubt, and Taylor pled out to unlawful fondling of a child, serving just 1 year in jail. The victim, Kathy Shelton, appeared with Donald Trump in a press conference just prior to the debate, saying the way Mrs. Clinton treated her when she was 12 years old damaged her for life. Trump then pounded home the theme that Mrs. Clinton's past record makes her a hypocrite on the woman abuse issue.
When Hillary brings up a point like that, and she talks about words that I said 11 years ago, I think it's disgraceful, and I think she should be ashamed of herself, if you want to know the truth.
Mrs. Clinton jumped on that, saying that Trump is never contrite.
He never apologizes for anything to anyone. He never apologized to Mr. and Mrs. Khan, Gold Star family, whose son, Captain Khan, died in the line of duty in Iraq. And Donald insulted and attacked them for weeks over their religion. And he never apologized for the racist lie that President Obama was not born in the United States of America. He owes the president an apology.
Mr. Trump seized upon the Obama reference to lob this grenade.
Michelle Obama, I've gotten to see the commercials that they did on you, and I've gotten to see some of the most vicious commercials I've ever seen of Michelle Obama talking about you, Hillary.
And that reference is to the Clinton-Obama primary race of 2008, when Mrs. Obama said this.
One of the things, the important aspects of this race is role modeling what good families should look like. And my view is that if you can't run your own house, you certainly can't run the White House. Can't do it.
So after about 30 minutes of personal attacks, Trump was still standing, a win for him. Then came more personal attacks.
If I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much deception, has never been anything like it. And we're going to have a special prosecutor.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Now, that quip about the email situation angered some on the left. A CNN reporter compared it to something Hitler and Stalin might say. A bit hysterical, to say the least. We'll show you the clip later on. After about 1 hour, it was obvious that Donald Trump had done enough to survive, to live to fight another day. It's not that Hillary Clinton did anything poorly, But she has a tough road with the chaos overseas, the impending collapse of Obamacare, the email fiasco, and her attachment to Barack Obama's policies. With about 2/3 of Americans believing the country's going in the wrong direction, Secretary Clinton is a soft target on policy.
If she's president of the United States, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to be talk.
But Mrs. Clinton does have a record in Congress, which she pointed out.
400 pieces of legislation have my name on it as a sponsor or co-sponsor when I was a senator for 8 years. I worked very hard and was very proud to be reelected in New York by an even bigger margin than I had been elected the first time.
Now, as the debate drew to a close, there were two things apparent to fair-minded people. Hillary Clinton did not hurt herself and will remain the front runner. But Donald Trump, in a very difficult spot, was able to stand his ground, defend himself, and make some policy points that resonated. He's still in it. And that in itself, after all that happened over the weekend, is a major victory for him. And that's a memo. Next on the Rundown Reaction, Krauthammer, Goldberg, and Luntz. Then later, Waters on Columbus Day. Poor Chris. We're coming right back. Continuing now with our lead story, analyzing last night's debate. Joining us from Washington, Charles Krauthammer. So where am I going wrong, Charles?
Well, you're mostly right, which in and of itself is a surprise. And actually his high point was something that you didn't mention, but his reference to Lincoln, that was essentially a play on the Lloyd Benson line. That was essentially him saying, I knew Abe Lincoln. Abe Lincoln was a friend of mine, and you are not Abe Lincoln. I thought that was extremely effective, and it appeared spontaneous.
Yeah, it was.
But his low point was something that you seemed to brush off as something that would only concern the left. When you look at your opponent and you threaten to put your opponent in jail, you have gone way over the line of political decency in this country. That's not Hitler, Stalin. That's Banana Republic.
All right, I disagree.
That's what happens but let me just,
all right.
I've got a thought. I'm going to finish it.
Go ahead.
And that is, we have had 250 years of miraculous transfer of power done peacefully and consensually. The one thing we don't do is to put people in jail or to execute them. In other countries, your life can be on the line in elections. And we had a long history where you don't even talk about that. The breach of that etiquette of talking about, I'm going to personally order a special prosecutor. Incidentally, the law wouldn't even allow that. But nonetheless, and then you would end up in jail as if he's prejudging it, is something that should never be done, and is another example of Trump lowering the level of our discourse.
All right, I disagree, because, number one, he has to play to a certain voter, all right, who does believe that Mrs. Clinton got away with a national security violation that no one else would have gotten away with. And millions and millions of those voters out there. So, yeah, you're right. He can't put anybody in jail if he's president. You can't just sign executive orders when he's incarcerated. But certainly he would have the power to his Justice Department to reopen an investigation that the government deemed to be not credible. He does have the power to do that. And I wasn't offended by that so much in the sense that I knew it was a quip off the top of his head, which, you know, and I think it helped him. I really believe that helped him.
But you always defend Trump by saying, he said X, oh, it perhaps was not the right thing to do. Maybe it was constitutional.
Oh, you didn't believe he literally was going to put him in jail, do you?
But he was appealing, and it works for him. Works for him is different from saying it's the right thing to do.
Sure.
The low point of the convention was the crowd saying, oh, lock her up.
Okay.
That's not
we
what
want civility, and we on this program, as you well know, have stayed out of the swamp. But you can't tell me that you thought that Donald Trump was saying, if I'm elected, I'm going to incarcerate this woman like I would do in an inquisition. He was making a point that there would be a special prosecutor. The email thing would be reopened because, again, many, many millions of Americans feel that this was the fix was in, that another president, Barack Obama, made sure that it wasn't, an honest investigation did not take place. So I hope we have a tradition in this country of honest investigations, and that's how I took it.
Look, one of the presidents that we retroactively revere is Gerald Ford, in a situation with Nixon, who was clearly guilty. But he understood it would heal the country, and that in America, you don't put ex-presidents in jail. It cost him the presidency, which makes it a profile in courage. But here, we could all agree there was obviously way overstepping the line. He would have been impeached and all that, and he probably would have been convicted.
But there's a difference.
It's understood in this country that you don't put political losers in jail.
It's a difference. It's more than political losers. In the Watergate situation, the system worked. All right? The investigation led to wrongdoing on the part of Richard Milhouse Nixon. All right? Now, what Ford did, and I support that as a historian, you're absolutely right. He said, it doesn't get us any further as a nation to punish this man. So I'm going to pardon him. But this is different because this investigation, and there's a lot of evidence that point to this, was a fraud. It was a fraud because of politics. So if Trump's going to go in and say, I want an honest investigation, if I'm elected, I'm going to see it happens, I don't think that's a cheap shot thing.
It's worse than a cheap shot thing. And you're probably right that it works with his base. And in one sense, you could say, yes, this is allowing the justice to go ahead. But the idea that you threaten your opponent with jail, and he used the word jail, I didn't, it, to me, is a breach of the decency of our system where we don't do that,
all right,
even where it might be warranted, as in the Nixon case.
I will cede that there are two sides to this story, and I'm glad we had this debate because you'll see this nowhere else on television. Krauthammer and O'Reilly. You will never see it. But I'm going to stick to my guns. I do not believe that was an honest investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. And as an American citizen, I do not want the highest levels of our government, the president, the attorney general, and the FBI, to be in the tank on an investigation of this import. And if I was president, I'd do the exact thing. Last word.
Look, I understand the will to do that. I simply believe that there are certain limits to political discourse and to what you do to your opponent. And in this case, it was something that have you ever heard a presidential candidate ever threatening another with that kind of legal, and he's done it with others. He said to the guy, owner of Chicago White Sox, who put the money in the campaign against him, he said, he's got business things. He better watch out if I'm president.
No, I don't like the threats either.
That's not unique to him. That's what he's doing. And that's a misuse of the powers of the presidency.
All right, Charles Krauthammer, everyone. Directly ahead, hysteria on the left. Then more hysteria from Goldberg and Waters. Right back.